Raj. For those who don't know me, I am Works Motorsports. At the same time, I've been racing in the Malaysian Super Series for the last couple of years. Today what we want to do and talk about is we want to actually show you the various difference between a normal street bike, a racing motorcycle, at the same time the kind of maintenance and care that we do before every race weekend. Two different kind of motorcycles that you see right behind me. You have your typical daily usage Bugatti 1199 Panigale S, which is street legal, and on this side you have a full-fledged race bike that's been raced in the Malaysian Super Series in 2014. And what we're going to do today is just talk through a bit of differences between both bikes. Right? On the Bugatti, as you can see, it comes with your standard street fairings where it has headlights, mirrors, number plate, a standard street legal exhaust or original exhaust, normal tires, one bike that you can run around every single day on the road in Singapore and not feel too worried about it. On the other hand, down here what we have is a full-fledged race bike where things is different. Like you can see, it's running a race exhaust, its bodywork's all changed out to be as light as possible. The suspension has been modified so that it's a lot stiffer, a lot better. The front disc has been changed out for better braking. The controls on the bike as well, all aftermarket just to help with the rider's aid and things like that. Suspension on the back has been changed out as well. So a lot of things on this bike are not your everyday usage, street legal things. Again, I've mentioned the bike is mainly used for racing. So before every race weekend, what we normally do is we prep the bike according to what services and intervals that need to be done. What we normally do on a race bike like this is, of course, number one, we actually change out the tires. We will check the sprockets and the chain to make sure the wear rates are still okay. At the same time, we will also give the bike an oil change, so the oil and the oil filter will be changed out. Down here, we will of course check the brake pads to make sure that it is either sufficient. If not, the wear rate has gone down, we will change the brake pads out, and of course, the brake fluids and everything will be flushed and changed as well. So the very first thing we're going to do today is take the bodywork off. It is a race bodywork, so you can actually see it actually takes approximately about 3 minutes to strip everything off the bike. That's really, really quick because we don't have things like headlights, tail lights, mirrors on the bike. And then it takes approximately 5 minutes to put everything back on. So I'll go ahead and start taking off the bodywork to do it and show you guys how an oil change is done on a race bike. This is the oil drain sump and the oil filter that we will normally change out. All oil drain plugs and everything has to be lock wired for racing purposes, just in case they come undone or they drop out during a race. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out the lock wire first before we access the bolts to change the oil. So as you can see, we have already changed the oil filter out, replaced the oil filter cartridge with a new one. So what we're going to do now is going to put the oil drain plug back in. And of course we have to torque the bolt down to make sure that it's not over tightened. Once all that is done, we can now start to refill the engine oil in the bike. And again, of course, no prizes for guessing what oil we run. X-REV Racing 40 oil. We use 1040 in a 600cc bike just because it's slightly lighter. And it seems to have a world of improvement as well. The 600cc race bike like this normally uses about 2.5 liters of oil. Just to make sure we have enough oil, we normally just look at the window here on the CBR 600, and as long as it's in the middle, then we know we have enough engine oil. With the oil change, we're going to move on to the brakes on the bike. I mean, the brakes is one of the most important components on any motorcycle or car for the fact that it helps you stop. So what we're going to do now, we're going to actually show you what this bike has. It has aftermarket disc on the bike, which helps in terms of the thickness of the disc to help in braking. It's your standard calipers. In the super stock series that we run in Malaysia, you're not allowed to change the calipers. So basically the only things you are allowed to change are the brake pads on the inside and the braking disc as well. The master cylinder, the controls of the brakes as well has to be stock. So we're going to show you how we do a little bit of maintenance on the brakes itself to make sure that you can use them as such and they'll stop eventually when you need them to. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out the caliper. I'm going to remove and show you a little bit of what the brake pads look like on the inside. So once we remove the calipers, you can see the brake pads on the inside as well. The condition of the brake pads deter how much brake pad you have left, and that will make the decision for us whether we change the brake pads during for the next round or they are sufficient to last us for the next race as well. On top of that, we will remove the brake pads, we will clean the pistons a little bit on the inside. The shiny bits that you see here, these are the pistons that actually pushes the brake pads every time you get on the brake. This should be as good as new. Now we move ahead to the tires. Tires in MF, we normally run them on a race-to-race basis, so we normally change the tires every single race. And as you can see, the wear pattern on tires means we definitely need a new set of tires for the next race. One of the components of the motorcycle that we can change is the ECU. The function of the ECU is to give the bike a little bit more power. It unlocks a little bit more RPM on the bike as well to allow it to go quicker and faster. What I want to be able to explain to you is what the ECU does to assist us riders when we have one on the bike like this. If you come up here and you watch the cockpit area of the motorcycle, you will see most of the components are pretty much the same. You have your speedometer, your dash as you know it. You can see that this indicates the shift lights. So what happens when the shift light comes on, it allows us to shift gear or assists us, it lets us know that it's time to move on to the next gear, from second to third or from third to fourth. Now the RPM on the bike, they rev up to approximately about 16,000 RPM, but we normally shift approximately about 14.5, 15,000 maximum, where that's the peak power achieved on the motorcycle. Now, the ECU also gives us a little bit more aid in things like having a pit lane limiter, which allows us to cruise in pit lane, being fully on the throttle but not exceeding a certain speed limit that we set at. In all tracks around the world, majority of the speed limits are 60 kilometers an hour. On race bikes like this, it's hard to judge 60 kilometers an hour, and the function of the pit lane limiter is just that. When you set it at 60 kilometers an hour, regardless of whatever gear you're in or how much throttle input you put, the bike only can go up to 60 kilometers an hour. Second button you see here is the hand shift. The hand shift acts like an auto clutch system where it allows you to upshift but not having to pull in the clutch lever. By just pressing a button, it allows you to kick in the gears into the next higher gear from 3rd to 4th gear, or even from 4th to 5th gear, fully on the throttle and not having to come off. Hence saving a bit of time and a bit of effort as well. At iRace, we have a system of the bike known as a HM quick shifter. What this allows us to do is allows us to shift gears without having to pull in the clutch at all, and without having to even back off on the throttle. And all it does is just by using your feet to engage the gear, automatically it cuts off the engine for a millisecond, just enough to allow the gear shift to happen. Again, quick shifters were invented a couple years back to assist riders to be able to take their mind off having to use the clutch while racing, having to do one less thing, and in turn was one of the greatest inventions ever for motorcycles. If you don't have a quick shifter, I highly recommend that you have one anytime you go to the tracks or even for roads. Now this last bit of maintenance that I like to do on all my motorcycles is to make sure that the chain and the sprockets are very well oiled and lubricated before we get the bikes on the racetrack as well. And again, we normally do this prior, a couple of days before the whole event, so that we don't get any oil spilling around or slinging all over the bike. So what we normally do is to make sure that the chain, there's enough slack on the chain first of all. If everything seems okay, we'll move on to actually lubricating the chain. Right? And when we lubricate the chain, we always loop on the inside of the chain, right? So that when the chain actually moves, it hence lubricates the sprockets on the inside and the O-rings. So again, just to make sure that all chains are well lubricated, and then there's nothing, kind of cut down on drag and resistance, and it also increases the lifespan of the chain and the sprocket. The maintenance of the bike has been done. The engine oil has been changed out. Majority of the owners that we want checked have been checked. I'm pretty sure to say the bike's ready to go racing, and at the same time, hopefully it'll be a fruitful season again for us. Thanks to X-REV for everything. Bike ready to go. Participate or even know about the Malaysian Super Series. It's an event held in Sepang Circuit where you get a lot of the factory teams coming in from Honda, from Kawasaki, from Yamaha. It's a very competitive series. We have riders from all over the world participating, from the UK, from Japan, homegrown talent in Malaysia, and of course boys from Singapore participating as well. Very competitive series. If any of you follow the series, you guys should know how tough and difficult it is. We've been racing there for the last couple of years. It's been so difficult, but at the same time so rewarding, so challenging. The Malaysian Super Series is the next up-and-coming series all over Asia, and something that you can look forward to watching on even TV one day. I also like to take this opportunity to thank X-REV for those of you who really know the engine oil, has been with us for the last couple of years. It's been facilitating all our motorcycles that gone racing, keeping our engines very safe over the last couple of years in racing at such a high level. And at the same time, we cannot thank X-REV enough for making sure that all the time they've been there supporting us.